Another year, another Hugo controversy. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about my reading schedule, this year's Hugo controversy with AI, and some new releases in science fiction. I just finished reading Foreigner by C.J. Cherryh, and I did really enjoy this novel. It had a bit of a slow, confusing start where it begins in one direction and then kind of takes a turn and goes in a completely unexpected direction. It happens very early on in the novel, and once it gets going, it kind of builds up to a very suspenseful, thrilling novel. It has a lot of political intrigue. At times, it kind of feels like a spy thriller. There's a lot of great character development in this. It follows a lone diplomat named Bryn who lives in this alien society and is surrounded by their culture and their politics, and he kind of has to maneuver through all of that. So I will be having a full review of this up on my channel. That should be coming out soon, and I will be recommending this novel. My current read is A Door into Ocean by Joan Slonczewski. This is described as a feminist science fiction where a society of women live in the far future on a distant moon. There are no males in this society, so they reproduce through parthenogenesis, and the novel features advanced biological sciences. And during the story, a conflict erupts with a neighboring civilization. So Joan has a background in microbiology, so this could be a really interesting novel with the advanced biological technology going on. So I'm looking forward to this one, and I will hopefully eventually have a full review of it, and at that point we can get more into the details of what it's about and what I thought of it. My next read after A Door into Ocean is going to be Schismatrix by Bruce Sterling. Now, I will actually be reading Schismatrix Plus, which includes this novel plus all the stories in the Shaper Mechanist universe that Bruce has created. And I say Schismatrix because in the introduction to Schismatrix Plus, he says the pronunciation is similar to schismatics. So it's not Schismatrix. I believe it's pronounced Schismatrix. If you know anything different, please let me know in the comments. But anyway, this some of the stories, not from this novel, but from the Plus novel and the Shaper Mechanist universe, were featured on the Netflix animation Love, Death, and Robots. In previous seasons, they did have an episode based on one of the stories, and in the new season, which begins here sometime this month, we'll have another story based out of that universe. So that's kind of what's prompted me to read this one. And now the Schismatrix Plus has the novel first, and then afterwards it has the short stories in that order. But from what I've read, it's better to read the short stories first, so I am going to be kind of starting with the back of the book and then reading the short stories and then moving on to the novel. And I hopefully will get that done before the new season of Love, Death, and Robots comes out. I don't know if I'll do a full review of this. I will probably, one of my next reading update videos, I'll kind of talk about what I thought, and then, after I read it, I'll decide if it merits a full review. What is going on with the Hugo Awards? This year there was another controversy with the Worldcon committee. What happened is they decided to use AI in some of their processes, and there's been a lot of outrage. 2 of the Hugo admins have resigned. There have been multiple multiple apologies about this. And so we have another year, another controversy. And actually, can I say real quick, the logo for this year looks really cool. I like the kind of the retro sci-fi futurism vibe it gives off. But anyway, so as they explain it, the Hugo committee decided to use ChatGPT to create a language model that would review over 1,300 panelists that all submitted forms to be at the Worldcon. And, 1,300 is a big number. So usually they have volunteers that have to vet all these people. And to try and save time, they decided to use ChatGPT to help them. So there's been a lot of outrage about this use of AI. And while typically I am against AI, I actually don't have a problem with the way they use this. So all they were using it to kind of go through social media histories of all the panelists to make sure there's nothing controversial about the panelist. And of course, doing this caused a controversy. But I think they were trying to save time on volunteer hours, which, that's very understandable to me. Now, when it comes to AI, yeah, definitely it should not be used in any sort of writing material. AI in fiction is terrible. The recent stuff that Facebook and Meta have done, where they just have basically stolen authors' works. Alistair Reynolds mentioned recently that he was quite upset about this, that they stole some of his novels to use in training their AI. So yeah, all that is bad. It shouldn't happen. But there are some instances, I think, where AI can be useful, and this is one of them to me. So there's a lot of outrage and controversy. Yoon-Ha Lee decided to remove his work from consideration because of this, and I just kind of see it all as an overreaction. The Hugo committee did not use the ChatGPT to write anything. They're not. None of the panelists actually got denied because of this, so they basically just use it to search the history of these people, and then it was reviewed by actual people. So it was a very limited use. No one's getting rejected. Nothing like that is happening by an AI. And so, in my opinion, this is it's a little overblown, especially considering what's happened in the past few years with the Hugos. I don't have a problem with this. But, it is another controversy. It has gotten a lot of news. It's led to, like I said, resignations, multiple apologies. I will link below the most recent apology and, some of the news on this whole situation if you want to check out that further. And then, let me know in the comments, do you think this was a poor use of AI? Do you think no matter what, AI should not be used? Or are there some limited uses that are acceptable for AI? So it's a very interesting conversation, and it's not going away. This will keep coming up in the future as we, as people, figure out how to use this technology. And, aside from that, does anyone else hate how it's called AI? Because there's nothing really intelligent about these things. They kind of do a Google search for you, and that's it. There's language models and stuff that you input data in, and it gathers that up. This software isn't making intelligent decisions, so it hasn't risen yet to the level of AI. So that's kind of my gripe about the whole AI thing. shouldn't be called AI yet. Maybe in the future it'll get to that point, but I don't think it has. Let me know in the comments for sure if you have any other opinions. I'd like to highlight some new releases in science fiction for the months of April and May. This is not going to be a comprehensive list of every science fiction novel that's come out. This is just kind of what I have an interest in and what I'd like to read, or perhaps I've already read them. Starting with April 1st, we had Where the Axe is Buried by Ray Naylor. I did read an advanced copy of this novel and really enjoyed it. It is a near future look at different governmental systems, one of them having an authoritarian leader that's figured out how to upload his mind into successive bodies, so he's essentially becomes immortal, and so he never loses his grip on governmental control, and kind of has a story of some revolutionaries that are trying to put a stop to him. And then it gives a look on kind of a Western governments where they have their prime ministers are actually AI, and this system of government is like just getting set up and expanding to more countries, and it has a really interesting angle based on that. So if you like Ray Naylor, he's become a must-read author for me. This is his third book release, starting with The Mountain in the Sea a couple of years ago, and then The Tusks of Extinction, which was a novella. But I really, really love The Tusks of Extinction. One of my favorite reads last year. I definitely recommend that. It was also nominated for the Hugo Award. So Ray Naylor has become a go-to author for me, and I'll be looking out for his next novel. He is a short story writer as well. He's written many, many short stories. Usually every month he has one out in one of the science fiction magazines. So he's a very well established author. Has recently started writing novels, and he's definitely one to look into if you haven't yet. The next release I'd like to highlight is Cold Eternity by S.A. Barnes, and that one came out on April 8th. So this is a space horror novel and is the author's third sci-fi horror. I have read her other two, which were Dead Silence and Ghost Station, and I enjoyed them. They weren't great, but they were okay. They were entertaining. And I feel like we don't get a whole lot of science fiction horror releases. So whenever one comes, I try to pick that one up and read it. And I did enjoy them. No doubt. So if you like sci-fi horror, she's one to try. And her new novel is set with the concept of cryogenically frozen bodies. And from the description, it kind of sounds like there are these long abandoned cryo storages on a isolated ship sometime in the future. So it's setting up some opportunities for ghosts type creatures type concepts going on with these cryogenically frozen bodies. So that one's worth checking out. I do plan on reading this sometime this year. It won't be sometime soon, but it will be this year, and I'll try to talk about it after I read it at that point. A couple more of the novels I want to talk about are for the month of May, starting with Overgrowth by Mira Grant. It sounds like it also might be kind of a sci-fi horror, so we're getting two of those back to back, so that's nice. This one starts as an alien disguised as a human on Earth and warns of an imminent invasion. Sounds like it's being described as kind of like a Day of the Triffids type story. So I have not read Mira Grant before, so that'll be a first for me. I will be picking up that novel soon. I don't know when I'll read it. Hopefully I'll get it in the next couple months, and I'll let you know about that one. The last novel I'd like to talk about comes out on May 20th. It is Esperance by Adam Oyebanji. I do have another one of his books up here on the shelf next to me, Breaking Day. I have not read it yet, but I do want to read Breaking Day and this one. Both of them sound really interesting. This one in particular is described as a sci-fi thriller. Blake Crouch meets Andy Weir meets Neil Stephenson. It starts out, Detective Ethan Kroll is on the 20th floor of a Chicago apartment building. A father and son have been found dead, their lungs full of seawater, 100 miles from the ocean. So that kind of sounds interesting, sci-fi thriller. This author's gotten good reviews in the past, so that one I would like to pick up sometime in the future. Thank you for watching today's video. Let me know in the comments if you have any thoughts on the books I've gone over, or if you want to share your opinion on the Hugo Awards controversy. Please like and subscribe, and stay tuned for my review of Foreigner by C.J. Cherryh. Thank you.